Here, I'm putting it up on the screen real quick on an overlay. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's see. How's that?
Yeah. It's 100 mark.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay. How do I get that to go away?
So Mehul, go ahead and do your interview, and I will make sure that the right screens are where they need to be as you two talk, and then when we're done, I'll stop the broadcast and it will be recorded, okay?
All right. Switha?
You may be used to interviewing doctors. I'm a nurse over here using the Google Glass.
I'm doing this for the first time, so don't be too hassled. So Chris, could you tell me a bit about your job?
Okay. I'm a med-surg nurse here over at Jacksonville, Florida, and we deal with post-surgical patients. We deal with people that have bariatric surgeries, GI surgeries, things like that, and we deal with all the care post-surgically for them,
Right.
and hitting all the metrics and everything to achieve top surgical outcomes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you are an explorer, right? You use Google Glass. Yeah. And how do you use it in your field of knowledge, area of knowledge?
The way I have mine is to right now is I write software for it to where we can actually pull the patient data up to our heads-up display so we can get report in a timely manner, and lab results as well as X-ray, CT scans, things of that nature. They all come to the heads-up display. So we're able to achieve a customer service level and superior outcomes based on having things in a timely manner, as well as achieving, which I don't think India has anything like it, but we have something called HCAPs over here, which are like hospital scoring systems based on patient input. So them to boost those scores. And the patients perceive, whether it's real or not, they perceive a better outcome by having a nurse with a Google Glass versus without one.
And you've taken a survey to know this, right?
Can you repeat that for me?
You said that you believe that the patients benefit from Google Glass. So did you take a survey or a vote for this?
Well, they benefit multiple ways. Psychologically, a lot of people are scared when they're in the hospital. They have no idea what's going on. They have a lot of things going back and forth. Scans, test results, lab results, they're getting poked and prodded. And they have no idea what's happening behind the curtain, if you will. So by doing this, we keep them more in the loop, and we can answer their questions faster, respond to their concerns, and some of it's perception, but some of it's actually, we get results quicker, we can intervene faster.
Okay. So you use an app to pull out the data, right? An application.
Correct. I had a handwrite.
Is this application developed by any of your colleagues?
Is it used by my colleagues? No, right now I'm a lone test subject, if you will, to see hospitals still wary of a device with a camera inside the hospital. So I'm a lone test subject, and that's how I handle. I report back at them like a little report, and we monitor our patients' perceptions.
Okay. So, but actually, the question was, is it developed by any of you? Do you know the person who developed the app,
I'm the
or
one
is
who
it
developed
developed
it.
by someone else? You know the person who developed it.
Yeah, I'm the person who actually wrote it.
Oh, okay, fine. So could you just brief about the details of what the app actually does,
Okay. The
apart
app
from pull out data?
in our hospital, we have a EMR system, which is an electronic patient chart, and this app um, spools to a server, and that server is constantly trolling the patient's chart for new information. And this app then uses that to receive new information and automatically send it from the server to the actual glass unit. Um, by doing that, we can provide a secure access for the glass unit, and it feeds everything from lab results. Um, I can chart basic things with it, patient status, vital signs, things of that nature. I can pass meds to a certain degree with it. I can achieve compliance. One of our main things that we like is that there's an automated report function. So I can ask it to give me a report on a patient, and it will read me a report in my ear. And the idea with that is that we can cut, where it's exciting to the hospitals, is we can cut something called incidental overtime and shorten the report process and the handoff between nurses and nurses. And by shaving time there, we cut money off the budget, and that's really what gets hospitals happy.
Okay. Does this application need to be integrated with any other device, like a wearable device, perhaps?
Sorry, is the application integrated with any other device?
Like Google Glass by itself, with the application integrated with another device.
You mean like another input device, or I'm confused on the on the
Like,
question.
like sort of like an automated data collection. Or
Oh,
is it, are you entering the data?
yeah. Right now, at this point in time, we don't have a back door into our Cerner system, so I have a separate server that does nothing but trolls my patient's charts for the day for data, and that's what feeds the Google Glass. It's currently like a temporary workaround that makes the hospital administrators happy. But until IT gives me a full line into their database, which they're a little hesitant to, um, we can't develop the back end as properly as we'd like.
Okay. Do you think Google Glass for medical purposes should be integrated with other devices such as the Fitbit band and something to basically monitor our health?
I think the Google Glass should be integrated. Mayo, which is a hospital that's on the other side of town from us, is doing limited Google Glass trials where they're integrating it into their system. Um, for the nurses, it has great implications. For the doctors won't be able to record their progress notes and communicate to the device without having to stand in front of the computer anymore. And everybody I've seen try and implement that functionality has come up short. So we for the nurses though, we need a constant stream of data because we're currently like managing all of this data to get the right doctor on the phone, to get the right, respiratory therapist or, anything to manage the optimal outcome.
Right.
We joke if a patient stops breathing, the doctor will get there to sign the death certificate. He's not going to be the one running the code or, handling everything. It's usually
Yeah.
the nurses, the ICU staff, things like that. So
Right. So this data you pull out, do you think it should be outsourced also? Like someone who's not in the hospital but is a patient and is not physically accessible to the doctor, the hospital is not physically accessible to the patient, but the patient is wearing, per se, a band or some cloth which can sort of collect data and send it over to Google Glass. Do you think something like that should be more practical, should be used more practically?
so are you implying that there's like a telemetry or something like that to be piped
Uh,
to Google Glass?
Sorry?
You mean like a telemetry on the patient, like a patient's heartbeat and blood pressure,
Yeah,
things like that, be
yeah,
sent to Google Glass?
yeah.
Um, Not really. Telemetry is good data. We have somebody whose specific job is to watch the data, stream the telemetry, and they watch multiple monitors. I mean, we have one person that watches 90 beds, 90 people's telemetry,
So
and
you
nothing goes on. I mean, that's okay. I mean, that one person can watch that and still react in enough time. It's nothing changes enough in that data that makes me, need to react super fast. If I see someone going downhill, it will happen over a period of minutes, um, not a period of seconds. It's not like ER or on television where, you know, all of a sudden everybody's coding and the patient's in VTAC and the world's coming to an end. It happens at a much slower pace. So
so
Mehul,
you don't use it. Sorry.
Mehul, can I interrupt for just a minute?
Yeah.
We have another person joining, and I didn't know if you wanted to have her join in the same questions at the same time, or if you wanted her to wait for all the questions over again. Which would you prefer?
I just have a few more questions to ask Chris. Then we'll go on to Amanda, and then we'll ask some general questions.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, what was I saying? Yeah, so you don't have an algorithm to sort of monitor this data. You have one person sitting and monitoring the data.
we have our monitor systems that we use for patients. Some of them will automatically identify abnormal heart rhythms and then beep and change color for the to let the monitor tech know, look at this room.
Okay.
So that's automatically done already. By telling the individual nurse every time a patient has an abnormal rhythm or something, that would be extremely annoying. We have something called alarm fatigue that we're currently trying to fight, which is how to actually reduce the amount of times something goes off and bings, because we get to the point to where it bings so much that they ignore them. An 85-year-old lady, I have a patient on the floor that was today. She's 85 years old. She's in congestive heart failure. Um, her heart would bing that monitor about every 30 seconds because it would quit beating, and then the pacer would kick in and get it to restart again. So
Okay.
if that was going on in my glass, I would be ready to throw it across the room in a matter of minutes.
Okay. So what do you see in the future? At the moment, you're only using like a database management software to pull out data on the heads-up display. But do you see yourself using the video camera and the microphone, etc., that Google Glass provides you with?
Where the microphone and the camera would be useful, a lot of hospitals have a new stroke alert policy where we have to consult neurologist, and usually via telemedicine. Um, and that allows them to activate a series of responses and tests and exams that the nurses walk the patient through. Um, Short of that, what would be really nice is if I could use the microphone to send text messages to my physicians to get orders for my patients for medications, things like that. If I could sit there and say, hey, Dr. So-and-so, patient in 314 is feeling nauseous. I need to get Zofran, 4 milligrams Q6, put on his MARD. Can I go ahead and put that in? And then the doctor could say, yes, that's great, or no, I want you to give him Phenergan suppositories because I hate the patient.
Right. Thanks, Chris. And on to Amanda. Hello, Amanda.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So Amanda, could you tell me a bit about what you do?
Okay, unlike Chris, I'm not a medical professional. I work for Boston Children's Hospital, and I am a web and mobile developer there. So I work more on the IT and the information end than on the patient management end.
Okay. So you are a Google Glass Explorer, right?
I am, yes.
Okay, so how do you use the device?
In my day-to-day life, I mostly just use it when I am out and about getting messages from friends and things like that. I use it at work sort of to keep tabs on things, and I've been using it to play around with a couple of features, but we don't have anything currently that's out of prototype and into the phase of kind of a finished product that we use day to day for patient care, and we don't have an app themselves, if they were explorers, would be able to use yet to get things like appointment alerts or messages from doctors or anything along those lines. We're still in the very, very early stages of figuring out how we can integrate that with our existing systems and still not be annoying and still be HIPAA compliant, which is a huge issue for us.
All right. So what are both of your comments on HIPAA compliance? What do you all think about it? Do you think it's holding doctors back and surgeons back, or do you think it's justified?
Yes. I do think it can hold up development on new apps in a medical facility, because it's something that you have to be very, very cognizant of. Even for something as simple as sending an appointment reminder to a patient, which seems pretty straightforward, you have to be careful about who the patient is, what data specifically you're sending to them. Is it generic enough, or is it generic enough so that if it goes to the wrong person by mistake, you're still HIPAA compliant, but still useful to the person? Something like that is you have to be cognizant of. Since I work for a pediatric facility, we also have to be concerned with who we're sending the appointment, a reminder to, because we're usually not sending it to the patient. We're sending it to a parent or to a legal guardian. So we have to be concerned about, is this actually the parent or the legal guardian of the patient whose data this is, and if not, what happens if we accidentally send it to the wrong person? These are the types of things that we have to worry about.
All right. So do you use any apps? And if yes, what's the name of the app?
Everything we use for all of this is homegrown. We don't use any third-party apps.
Okay. So it's made by you. It's made by
Yes.
someone you know.
Yes.
Right. So, like on many mobile devices and on the Play Store, which is the Google Market, we see several apps which are not exactly built by professionals. Do you think they may not be built by professionals, but they may be used for medical purposes? Do you think it's ethical for a patient to use these apps, or for a doctor to use those apps?
Could you repeat that again? You broke up a little bit when you were asking your question.
Yeah. Like for example, you and Chris do not use any third-party apps. So, do you think the developer must have a medical association or affiliation to build an app, or is it all right if he just has some sort of medical experience and he builds the app? And do you think it's ethical for a patient or a doctor to use these apps?
I think as a developer, I definitely would not want to build an app in this space without being able to consult with one or more medical practitioners. One of my main projects at Children's Hospital is the patient portal, and we do have a clinician liaison that works with us to develop requirements and that we work with to roll out new features, to determine what features we should be focusing on, things like that. If you're talking about patient care, you need to talk to the people who are actually caring for the patients, because they know a lot more about the types of information that's going to be useful to the patients than I, as a developer who doesn't interact with patients, ever would. So absolutely, I think you definitely need to consult with medical professionals. The same way you would need to consult with architects if you were going to build an app that would allow you to share blueprints or coordinate with contractors for something like that. You need to talk to the people who are involved in the process and actually understand how things need to get done. As far as whether or not doctors and patients should be using mobile apps and third-party mobile apps specifically, yes and no. Again, I think they already are, for one thing, and people are going to use whatever they think they need to use to be able to share information and get the information that they need. As whether these apps are safe and are a good choice is a completely different story. But probably a lot of times the patients and or the doctors either may not be aware whether or not these apps are fully HIPAA compliant, or might decide that it's worth the risk because they don't have a better way to communicate. And I think that's one of the big challenges that healthcare and IT are facing right now.
Okay. So, talking about risk, do you think Google Glass has effectively benefited you considering the risk?
In some respects, I don't think it's going to be a perfect catch-all solution, but I think some combination of glass and probably other wearables would probably help a lot with facilitating communication between patients and healthcare providers.
So, according to both of y'all, what are the risks that doctors should and should not take when it comes to Google Glass?
Chris, that might be a better one for you to start out with, since you're actually on the floor, as it were.
What was the question?
Do you think it is do you think doctors should or should not take the risks associated with the usage of Google Glass?
Doctors take a lot of risks. I'll be honest with you, we would not be able to function without texting our doctors using normal SMS text messaging. But that's kind of off the record. It happens all the time. We all do it.
This is being broadcast, so it's not off the record.
Well, don't then get rid of that. Yeah.
In the general sense, not him specifically.
Yes. I would never text my doctors any information whatsoever. But you know, even when we like call the service to like page a doctor, it's just somebody sending them a text message.
Yep.
So it's as long as you're careful what you write, 313 needs this, not Amanda Martino is crying in her pillow again. I can't believe it. give this woman some Ativan to shut her down. You know, it's as long as it's vague enough. We all take risks every day. We're all trying to achieve that next level of efficiency, HIPAA compliant or not. But HIPAA compliance is pretty much encrypt everything and don't screw up. There's some generalized
Don't ever
standards.
make any typos.
Yes, no typos, everything to the right person, and we believe that anybody who gets the wrong information will have the decency to delete it and not use it to somebody else's advantage, which is,
and hopefully alert the right people so that they know, which is a whole other. They don't always.
Let me just put it to you this way. This is a true story, and this is a sad state of HIPAA compliance. At a previous job I had, which was none related to healthcare, the fax number for the home oxygen supply company was one number off of our fax machine to, say, a auto parts industry. And every day we would get at least 10 faxes of people with their medical records, their social security numbers, their home addresses, their Medicare numbers, employment resumes, everything. And we would call them, and they would be like, oh, just throw that away for us, and thanks for the heads up. And they would never do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
This happened for like 2 years. And finally what we did was we got another fax number. But
Yep.
there was a stack of papers about this big at one point in time of like stuff you wouldn't want broadcast, like Frank's going to be leaving his house from October 19th to October 31st and needs home oxygen sent to his brother's house in Cleveland. Here's his home address just in case you didn't want to break into it.
Yep.
You know,
Although,
things like that.
And in fairness, none of this is specific to Google Glass or any other device. These are procedural issues that that apply whether you're using glass, phones, smartwatches, any or all of the above.
Everybody takes risks every day, no matter what you're doing.
Yes.
So you take risks, and this device is relatively new, and it's new to the patient, new to the doctor. And so how do you build, and doctors take risks, so how do you build this doctor-patient relationship and ensure the patient that is data will be secure and kept private?
I'm going to send that to you. That's for you. How do you make sure your portal is secure?
Magic.
Internet?
I mean, it's going to sound boring, but a fair amount of it is either just hammering on it until we're reasonably assured that if anybody breaks into it, it's going to take a fair amount of effort to do so, and we will hopefully detect it while that's happening. Again, being a pediatric facility, we're a little different in how we have to sign up a patient because we have to validate not only the patient, but also the parent or legal guardian requesting access to the patient records. So we have to validate both individual parties and the relationship between them. So it's almost like a 3-layer authentication. If any of the information doesn't match when a parent is requesting access to their children's medical records, they go into a work queue, and one of our support people has to call the parent and step-by-step validate all of the information that we have on their account. So there's a lot of manual oversight involved. It's not always the most efficient system, but we've had very few instances of somebody gaining access to a medical record that they should not have. We've automated it as much as we can, but again, there's only so much you can do, especially when you're relying on the user to put in their information accurately. People make mistakes. People don't update their information sometimes. So they might put in what they think is the right information, and we still have outdated information that we're trying to check against.
We see a lot of split families too.
Yes.
Divorced couples.
Custody battles.
Yeah, that constantly go on, especially in peds, where the dad is unhappy with the course of treatment. The dad just got back from Afghanistan. Something like that. The parents are not talking. Whatever the reason, ADHD medication has gone missing. Things that they will constantly try and play one dog off the other family, vice versa, and the information may not be specific enough.
We've had a couple of instances where parents would be divorced. One parent would have sole custody of the child or children who are patients, and the other parent would come in and use the kid's information to try and request access to their medical record, whether because they wanted access to the kid's medical record because they're a parent and they wanted access, or because they just wanted to know the new address of the other parent and the children. We don't know, but we've had a few instances where the parent who did not have custody came in, tried to request access. Fortunately, every instance that I know of where this has happened, our set of procedures blocked them from getting access. We then contacted the legal guardian of record to tell them so-and-so had tried to request access to this particular child's account, and in at least 2 of those instances, the legal guardian contacted us back to say, thank you for alerting me, you were correct, this person should not have had access, and I appreciate that your system caught them and didn't give them access, and that you alerted me to this so that I know what's happening. So again, a lot of manual oversight and a lot of procedures in place, but sometimes that's what you have to resort to make sure that the information is secure.
Amanda, what Google Glass has several functionalities and features. So, like which of the hardware devices integrated in the Google Glass do you use for, say, like the camera or the microphone? I know you use a heads-up display, so.
Well, I don't personally use the heads-up display much in my development. Again, I'm on the technical side. I'm not on the patient care side. I've heard a lot of interesting stories about people using glass and the camera and the microphone for video hangouts during surgery, consulting, things like that. But again, being on the IT end, it's not something I run into as much.
Okay. In one of Kathy's discussions, someone had stated that if the data is sensitive and it should not be shown to the patient, they crop out the video. So, do you think it's ethical to do that? Do you think the patient should see everything, or do you think the patient should not see certain things? And who is the one to decide that?
Do the what?
Like who's the person who should decide what should be shown to the patient and what shouldn't be shown?
Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam should determine that.
Somebody went there.
Uncle Sam determines everything. I'm sure eventually at some point in time he'll write a regulation. They're really
yes,
good.
I mean, if I were the patient, I would think that if it were my medical procedure, I should have the right to see the procedure and to know what happened during my surgery or my procedure or whatever. I understand that there are different considerations in that from the healthcare provider perspective, though. I can't speak to them, but I do know that they're out there. And I've heard of cases where a pediatric patient would have a procedure done, and the patient's parents would specify that the patient was not to be told about that procedure. And again, being a pediatric facility, if the parent or legal guardian makes that decision, there's nothing the healthcare provider can do because it's not their decision to make. So it's it seems to be something that kind of has to be decided on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. So like a lot of people talk about Google Glass for being a hardware, but they don't talk about the company behind it. So what do you think what role does Google play in telemedicine, apart from the fact that they have developed this device called Google Glass?
Google has a motto called "Don't be evil," and they certainly have an interest in getting into the healthcare front, into the storehousing of medical records, cloud-based distribution, things like that. That is a very open field and has the potential to cross into that. I'm going to be checking my Gmail one day and getting ads for Crestor because they just noticed my triglycerides are high in my electronic medical record chart. You know, it's you know, there's certainly a creepy zone there that can cross, but Amanda could probably go into cloud-based storage.
I heard of a story once where somebody shopped at, I don't remember which retailer. For the sake of argument, let's just say it was Target. It might have been, it might not have been, and started based on her history of purchases. Somehow, Target's whatever system that they have that they've developed to send you circulars with ads that they think might be interested in, had figured out that they thought she might be pregnant and started sending her ads and circulars for diapers and different, baby products, pregnancy books, things like that. And the user herself did not actually know she was pregnant yet. Somehow Target's system figured it out before she did. And there was a huge story about it. It was a few years ago, I think. And ever since then, I guess, a lot of retailers have changed their models where they still will send you ads for things that you might be interested in or might be going on with you in your life, but they randomize them better so that only between a quarter and a third of the ads that you get in the circular or in the emails that they're sending you are related to what they specifically think is going on in your life and what you might be shopping for, and the rest are random noise to disguise sort of what they're targeting. And the don't be evil sort of falls along those same lines. You can do an awful lot with data, especially if you have the right data and the right amount of it where it's actually meaningful and not just random noise or random samples. Whether or not we actually can trust Google or any other company to handle it properly, I don't know. The skeptic and the security freak in me says no, but the pragmatist in me says we're headed that way, like it or not. And it's probably best that we talk about this now and at least make an effort to, if not get in front of it, at least have the right conversation so that we're aware of the issues.
The antithesis, if you want to look at how you could be as creepy as possible, would be the competitor to Apple Pay, which is the current C-U-R-E-N-T-C. Yep. Okay, which is a way to accept Visa and MasterCard type purchases through all the retailers, and specifically in their user agreement, is that everything you buy at the register gets loaded into this database about you from all different major retailers, grocery stores, you know, everything. So for one, Target is not going to compete against Walmart for your business if they know they can't be competitive and you've been buying this item at Target or at Walmart. You know, things like that. It's a complete database of every shopper's habits and everything they buy, and the idea so that they can target you specifically with what you want. And that kind of gets to the opposite of the creepy, which is in the somewhere there's a guy knowing exactly how much room you have on your credit card and what your kids really want for Christmas and why you should buy this, because I know you have the money.
Yep. So I'm also, I feel obligated to throw in a information isn't evil, people are evil caveat. It's really easy to blame Google Glass or some other device for being the thing that ends privacy, but I don't know that you can necessarily blame the device or the technology for what people do with it. I think it depends on us as users, as developers, and as healthcare providers to make sure that our patients or our clients are informed about the risks and the rewards, the potential benefits of having access to these technologies and to this type of information. And then at that point, I don't know there's a lot more that we can do.
Okay. So yeah, data mining is an issue. Do any of y'all use any of the Google apps that the Glass provides?
We don't. I don't even think we could if we wanted to. We can't rely on everyone to have a Gmail account at the hospital.
Yeah.
We can't force all of our patients to have a Gmail account and use something like OAuth for login. It's just not feasible.
Because the way I see it, Google is trying to sort of force itself upon like society by making the doctor use Google, not making the doctor chooses to use the Google Glass, but they made it in such a way that it's I don't know how to put it, but I mean Google Glass is a popular product. I don't know how, but apparently according to its because of its benefits, and the way I see it, Google is sort of forcing itself upon like if a doctor uses Google Glass, the patient feels that it's necessary for him to also be affiliated with Google, not directly, but for example, if you can like you said, we don't want all our patients to have Gmail accounts, but I believe the patient from patient point of view, he would be in terms of efficiency, you would feel more safe to say a Gmail to Gmail email transfer sort of thing. So like Google apps are work better with themselves than other apps developed by other companies. So this is what I believe, but do you think Google is forcing itself upon its patients or upon society?
I don't think so, because it's completely up to you if you're going to buy an Android phone or buy Google Glass or buy an Android smartwatch. That's completely dependent on the user. And from a hospital and an IT perspective, we are not using Google. We're not requiring all of our users to have a Gmail account or to have a smartwatch or anything like that in order to use any of our apps. That's part of the reason that our apps are all homegrown and we don't really use a lot of third-party web or mobile apps. We see millions of patients a year at Boston Children's Hospital. We cannot realistically enforce everybody has to use Google Apps, even if we wanted to. And I think we would probably be fighting a fool's battle if we tried to. That's not to say that we wouldn't or couldn't ever offer little bonuses to people who are on Android or on iOS and have a Google or an Apple smartwatch or Google Glass or whatever the next version of Google Glass is, be it by Google or somebody else, to allow apps to let somebody monitor their own health and report back to their doctors, or to get custom appointments or reminders or healthcare tips or things like that that we could offer to smartphone or glass users or to iOS users. But that's different from saying you must have a Google account, you must use Google Apps in order to be able to use any of the Boston Children's Hospital apps. We don't do that, and we couldn't do it, and I don't think we would want to do it.
So both of you are developers. So where do you all see, what do you all see in the future? What do you see yourself developing for Google in the future? What are your future plans?
I'm not sure how much of that I could answer. Even, I mean, there are a couple of things that we're working on, and a couple of side projects that some of which I'm working on, some that I know about, but I'm not directly involved in yet. But I'm not sure I am in a position where I would be allowed to give details on any of that.
There's a lot of meaningful use 2 requirements, and
you said the horrible words.
Meaningful use 3 and meaningful use 6 and 8 and 15 whenever they're written. Requirements that will be coming down. Like I said before, the government writes the rules, many of them how they will be distributed. We have to achieve certain metrics, Amanda's portal that she's developing has to achieve a certain percentage of Boston Children's Hospital people logging into it. I think it's, what, 3%?
5.
5, whatever.
5.
I don't pay attention to them as much as, because I'm not on the portal side. But
Yep. This has been my summer.
everybody's got to write something. Everybody in our hospital has written something, and that's a something. It's nothing fancy. It's a something. It checks the boxes. Here it is. Somebody will log into it. If I get 5%, good job. You know. There will be continuing standards that will be raised forever. Uncle Sam is constantly moving that goalpost, and you know, application development in a hospital is not going to die out anytime soon.
Oh, it's not.
No. There's an endless supply of stuff they need to build and fix.
And retrofit.
And break and fix again and all sorts of fun stuff. The idea that I had behind Google Glass was not so much that every nurse would have a Google Glass unit on to interface with the EMR system, but I originally started on it because it was just a cool idea. And I wanted to see if patients would actually like it or not like it. It's like half social experiment, half technology experiment. The social side, patients love it. I have never had a single patient, over something like 700 patients have seen me wear this thing. Not a single one has said, "Could you take that off? That is silly." They have loved it. I seriously have never had, I've had 0 people tell me, "Take that off, I don't want it." They're very interested in how it will give you or give them more access to their data. And what I find fascinating is that it allows the nurse to take care of the patients and not chase the performance indicator numbers. We have a thing called HCAPS. It's a giant metering system. I've said it before. But any unit will be micromanaged down to, this unit does not ask if this patient is in pain enough, or does not service their communication enough, or does not do something. The hospital's not clean enough, they're not happy, blah, blah, blah. And so managers are having us chase these performance metrics instead of chase patients. By putting glass in there, we can put timely reminders, make nurses more efficient. You know, one of the things that has been the godsend of features is when I come in and get report in the morning, I put in how much fluid is in the IV bag into the device, or it actually keeps a tag of when the bag was started previously. So it lets me know 20 minutes before the bag is empty to get another bag. And so their IV pump never beeps. It never wakes them up out of a dead sleep. It never, you know, nurses, we don't keep track of that, but it's a big annoyance to patients. And so something simple like simple reminders, it allows us to be much more compliant on our core measures and things like that. It lets me know that nobody's documented STDs on this patient, or things like that. It allows us to be proactive with government regulations, but allow the nurse to do what the nurse is supposed to do, which is take care of the patient and not take care of the electronic chart that belongs to the patient, which a lot of nurses have become. So.
Yeah. So the apps that both you develop, can these apps be used? Can these apps be used for the patients, or they were aimed to be used by doctors only?
For mine, it's just doctors and nurses. For hers, the patient portal, that's all patients. Patients. I don't know if you do outside portals for. We have like remote logins to our Cerner system and all that. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, we pull all the healthcare data, the lab results, things like that, all come from Cerner in our portal. We don't currently, in one of the previous versions, we did allow patients to enter their own information into the portal, but it was a little clunky, so we took it out until we could make it work better. But that's an enhancement that'll be coming back, and that's sort of the first steps towards using letting the patients use apps to kind of manage their own healthcare. And I definitely think there could be an area where that would be really useful, especially for a patient with a chronic condition, where they're continually monitoring things like blood sugar, for example, if they're a diabetic. I definitely think some sort of an app that would allow a patient to monitor their own data, their own informatics, put it in, and be able to send a message to their doctor, for example, hey, my blood sugar was high today, what should I do? I definitely think there could be a market for that, and they would probably provide a lot of useful information and probably some more meaningful interactions between providers and patients, because the patient wouldn't necessarily feel like they have to wait to come in to see a provider, or have to have the debate with themselves, well, should I call, make an appointment? Should I wait and see if this works itself out? I think better information and better communication would help with a lot of patient anxiety on that end, and I think that would also lead to better patient care.
I see a lot of people that actually don't know what the real values are.
Yep.
I have people that sit there and say, I'm a great diabetic, I'm on metformin, and my sugars have been under 300, so I'm good. And you're like, I got $10 that your A1C is greater than 10.
Yeah, when we show results, we will highlight a result that's out of range, but that, again, is dependent on the patient actually logging in and looking at the result so that they know it's out of range. If they don't do that, then they don't know that.
So, what if a patient or doctor wanted data, but the application is only specific to a doctor or a patient? So, how would you ensure a secure transfer of information from your application to an application that is not developed by you, but is developed by someone else and can be accessed by the patient?
HL7 compatibility.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. That's a myth. If you find that, that's a storied
The purple
unicorn.
unicorn.
Please let me know. I've been looking.
Yep.
HL7 compatibility is built on crushed dreams and unicorn blood.
And dead kittens.
Dead kittens, yes. Throw in the dead kittens. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Apps don't talk to each other. Rarely, ever, ever, ever.
Okay.
And if they do, it's by a very expensive bridge that's like 40 grand.
Or something that they shouldn't be doing and that we can't talk about.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So I'd like to end with that note. Questions to ask.
So are we pretty well done here?
Yes.
We are? So we can wrap it up?
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Chris.
All right. Thank you, both of you. Thank you for giving your time. I'm going to talk with you, and we're going to stop the broadcast now then, and you can go. And thank you.